I have been a victim of marketing and brand loyalty. This product from The Ordinary, the 100% niacinamide powder, came out and I reviewed it, got it actually about a year ago. Well, I have been using it for a year, on and off, here and there, and boy do I have some updates and ideas on this. When the niacinamide powder came out, it was semi-hyped. A lot of people had questions about it, and as you know, The Ordinary is an inexpensive, effective skincare line that I f***ing love. Are they the best of the best? No, but are they really good? Do they serve a need the industry has? Do they cater to skintellectuals and little science nerds like you and me? Yes, they do. So when this came out after the 100% L-ascorbic acid, which is that vitamin C, I was very excited to try it, and yes, I bought into some of the hype. Now, the science behind niacinamide still holds really strong. It's a great ingredient. It can help with oil control, increasing the ceramides that our skin naturally produces. It can help to stop the spread of pigment, like niacinamide, vitamin B3, it's f***ing fantastic, even in the body. Phenomenal. But this product, I have some thoughts after using it and mixing it in with my peptide buffet serum, as well as my natural moisturizing factors for a year. And I wanted to share that with you. Now, the big question, am I mad? We will talk about that. But let's first talk about the usage and applications. So again, what is the purpose of this? L-ascorbic acid is not very stable. It goes bad. And so having something that you can freshly scoop into a product makes a ton of sense. Now, of course, The Ordinary saw that success and they saw what was happening with the niacinamide serum because, including me, many people loved it. But the 100% was supposed to be like a better version of that. My question is why? If the niacinamide serum works so well and it's pre-mixed for us, is adding niacinamide to our other products really that beneficial? And something that I actually noticed is that, yeah, it's kind of fun to play chemist in your bathroom, but it's almost a little bit more of a hindrance. The powder and niacinamide, being water soluble, does dissolve pretty well if you add a little bit of water to your hand. It's not completely grain free. The way I've described other products with this texture is like a low thread count. It's still soft and it's still, dissolved, but it's not super silky the way another serum would be. You know what I mean? So what's the actual purpose? Is it to just add niacinamide to other things in our routine? But then is more really better? There are other products, such as the one from Paula's Choice, that actually got flack for having 20%, and when I got this, I know that this won't be a scientific measurement. It's adding an extra step to your routine. But if it gives my routine a boost, that's something I'm happy about, and I was open to trying that. Well, after a year, not only do I feel this didn't give me a boost, but I think it dried out my skin, and I actually think it caused a little bit of irritation. So the main things that I mixed this in with were the buffet serum, because it is a liquid base and niacinamide is very stable and those peptides are pretty stable. And I also mixed this in with the natural moisturizing factors, the moisturizer, but it didn't mix in very well because the moisturizer was a little bit thicker. I have tried to use this with oils, and oils just weren't it because, being water soluble, it didn't really, dissolve into the oils, and it ended up being very grainy. But with the buffet and with the other moisturizers that I used to put this on my face, I would notice that at first it was totally fine, but if I applied a little bit too much, or depending on how I mixed it that day, I would actually get these little white streaks on my face. And this is not unusual for niacinamide. If you look at other niacinamide serums, a lot of them do that. Even some of my favorites, like from Pacifica or Naturium, if that niacinamide percentage is too high, it can leave some white streakiness on the skin. That's just what vitamin B3 does to you and me. But I found that depending on how much I mixed in, because this little scooper is not very scientifically accurate, and you should not be using a full scooper, like I still have a ton of this left, I just found that it was too much. And then comes the potential dryness and the potential irritation. I have naturally oily, acne-prone skin. Like, after a few hours, I'm a bit greasy. I look a little bit like a glazed donut. And especially in the winter, that's a little bit less intense, but I started using this in August of 2020 and playing around with it in the winter. And because niacinamide, one of the key things that it does as vitamin B3 is to control oil, I actually noticed that part of my face was not as oily, which kind of came as a welcome surprise. But you know what oiliness in the skin does? It helps the skin look lush and plump and glowy and hydrated. And I almost felt like my skin dried out a little bit in the winter of last year. And there was a little bit of crepiness and a little bit more wrinkling even, which was quite unexpected for me. Now, I did kind of back off around winter, springtime of last year. And again, during the summer, I made sure to pick this up and start adding it into a few things. And something else that I noticed that I didn't even pay attention to back in the winter because I was breaking out a bit here and there last winter. But when I picked this up in summer and put it again on my face, I realized I was getting these tiny little breakouts. Now, they're not the cystic acne that I had as a teenager. It's not the blackheads, and it's not even the big whiteheads, but it's like these tiny whiteheads right over, you know, this nose area that is relatively uncharacteristic for my skin. I know my face pretty fucking well, both because I live in it 24/7, as well as being a medical esthetician who obsesses over it because I fucking love these keratinocytes. But I noticed these little breakouts, almost like this niacinamide rash that I had gotten in the last winter. And when isolating my variables and only using this, yes, it showed up here on my nose. And even when I mixed this into other body products or, you know, took my products down my neck and chest, if it was the 100% niacinamide powder, I would get a little niacinamide rash here. And here's what's amazing. We know that niacinamide at concentrations of 5%, 10% is phenomenal. But what happens at 100%? And if you're mixing that in with something, okay, let's say 50% or 40%, is that really better? Or can that actually cause irritation? And for my skin, I do wonder if it was what I was mixing it with or how I was applying it, or maybe there were external factors. But the fact that anecdotally for me, the rash and the irritation and the breakouts looked the same, and they only happened when I used the powder. And after a day or two of stopping, they would go away. And if I did it again, they would flush up again, especially in the same exact area here, just on my nose, my upper cheeks, and my forehead, which again, I don't normally get pimples there. My acne is usually very localized to my jaw, my chin, my neck, and then, you know, a little bit around here kind of by my temples. It was fascinating in a not so good way. I understand that The Ordinary is not a brand that is made for skincare novices. If you are not interested in being a skintellectual, The Ordinary is not for you. Even in aesthetics, there are two types of clients or patients. There's the patient who comes in and says, I want to know what's going on. I want to understand what is causing this condition. I want to know my options and my treatments and how each one of those works. And then on the flip side, there's the client who comes in who says, I have this problem. I just want you to tell me what I can do. Give me patient autonomy. I'm going to choose an option and just run with it. Just fix the problem. And I am the kind of person who wants to understand and explore and go through that process, whereas some people just say, give me the answer. The Ordinary is more for the person who wants to understand that process, because you can't just give someone the answer, because if you just hand them a bottle, good luck trying to figure out how to use an alpha arbutin hyaluronic acid serum. So understandably, this is for a different market, but even myself being that market, I fell for the hype. Being so interested and in love with many of The Ordinary's products, I was thrilled with this. I thought it was going to be like the little sister, the follow-up of the vitamin C, and I just found this to be an extra step in my routine that for me caused a little bit more irritation and actually dryness to my skin, added a little bit of a white streak to my face, wasn't really that enjoyable to use, and just didn't have a ton of benefits for me, especially when the niacinamide and zinc serum works so well for my oily acne-prone skin, and it doesn't leave me overly streaky, and it doesn't dry me out, and it doesn't cause this, you know, kind of flushing and irritation. Why would I continue using this? Now, it is like $5 or $6, so the real question is, am I mad? The answer is honestly no. There are a lot of skincare products that I try and don't like, or that don't work for me, that cost a ton more, like a fucking dump truck behind a Sephora more. And unfortunately, I end up wasting some money on those, and fortunately do have people that I can donate to and share those with in my actual life who are okay with swatched products. But for something like this, $5, I'm not angry about it. I can't really find an alternate use because it's a little bit scrubby, but because, you know, it's a niacinamide powder, it's not jagged edges. I might actually use this as like a weird exfoliant on my elbows and my eczema prone spots on my knees. But am I in love with this? No. And has my experience changed since last year? Yes. I don't see this as favorably. I would recommend it only if you have the money and want to try it and kind of play chemist in your kitchen or have a little fun in your bathroom. But if not, I would say just stick with the niacinamide serum that mixes it for you. It's formulated better because this isn't formulated at all. It's just the niacinamide powder. Yay! If you really want to play with powders, don't do it in a random bathroom. Do it in your own bathroom or in a cosmetic chemistry lab, preferably. But if you really want to get onto that side of skincare and cosmetic chemistry at home, get the L-ascorbic acid powder. Yes, it can sting or be a little bit irritating, but in my opinion, it has more of a purpose. It's more well stabilized. The price is just as good. And it's just pure vitamin C powder as opposed to just like random ass niacinamide. And we know that vitamin C can work at higher concentrations, whereas we just don't have the data and the testing for this. And this is a perfect example of me having brand loyalty and falling into the marketing hype that so many brands like prey on consumers for. I was actually having this conversation with some of our beautiful butterflies and potato wives on Patreon and Discord, and talking about how the Kraft mac and cheese is just the brand name and the store version is almost identical. And same with Trader Joe's. Do you want a video exposing how Trader Joe's works? Basically, they're going directly to the manufacturer. They're just packaging the same product under a different name. But when we are seeing those as consumers on the shelves and we're like, well, which one am I supposed to do? The brand name is a little bit more expensive, but we've heard of it before. It sounds familiar, and so we don't know why, but we just feel like that one's the better choice. And so even though it costs more, we're gonna part with our hard-earned money. And that's really not based on, logic. If anything, it's that fast and slow thinking, and it's an initial gut response that we have to repetitive marketing and messages that are shoved down our throats. And so within milliseconds, we're making these decisions and we're basing them just on feelings and on this priming that these companies have done through advertisements, which leads us to buying the brand name product. I mean, when I say freaking car insurance, who do you think of? A little green gecko, right? When I say, can you hear me now? What cell phone carrier are you thinking of? And when I say Aflac, even if you don't have Aflac, you kind of know what that is, or bum bum bum. I should know my commercials better. That stupid State Farm commercial, does it not show up on every single one of your Maybe they know I need insurance. Anyways, the point is lots of money goes into this marketing and advertising and brand recognition so that when we as consumers are presented with choices, we just have this gut feeling that the one that's familiar is safer and we pay more for it. And although I don't think it's the exact same thing with The Ordinary because there aren't two competing products, it's definitely the same basic underlying consumer behavioral psychology principles that are playing out in my own mind when I'm well aware of these things because I fucking studied them, that are literally happening to me when I am hyper aware of these things and try to avoid being the consumer that gets sucked into those. But if anything, again, I'm not mad, it's $5. If anything, I'm impressed. Like, wow, you got me. You got me this time, but not again, my little friends. If you have tried this product, I want to know, how did it work for you? Is it the best thing since Kraft mac and cheese in a vegan version with some sliced bread and ketchup? I'm just saying, don't diss it till you try it. Or did you have a really negative reaction or experience to this? Or was your experience even worse? Did you have major breakouts and irritation, and did your skin dry up and wither away like an old flower in the 500-degree weather that we have here in California in the middle of the firestorms? Yay, firestorms! It's not summer turning into autumn, it's fire season. Anyways, I digress. Let me know what you think. Make sure that you're also staying hydrated, reapplying that SPF, hitting the like button, and I will see you in this next video. Love you guys. Bye.